All right, greetings. So, turn up the video speed. I gotta ask you this question because there were a lot of signs. It's not even a new thing. We've seen it over the decades. So, when it happens, did you really believe the whole way along that nothing would ever change? I mean, I get it, man. You worked there 5 or 10 years. Maybe your parents worked at that factory. Hey, your grandparents. And you're hoping that factory will still be there for your kids someday in the future. It's part of your hometown, it's part of the structure, part of the way things are. And when things shut down, man, you see some things that happen. Where am I going with this? Well, it's Freedom Phil. Like and subscribe. Let's get into it. And hey, turn up the video speed. I grew up in a broke ass logging town. I wasn't totally broke, but there were a lot of guys, not enough good jobs. Kind of crappy to try to find a job. A lot of nepotism. There were 3 paper mills when I was a kid. 2 of them are gone. I remember in the 90s when that big one shut down. And that one shut down, man. A lot of people lost a lot. A lot. Some guys were this close to their pension and they lost it all. I hope there was a lawsuit. I hope they got something. But God, I heard that a lot of them just got screwed. So you're talking 400 or more workers, and then you got all the loggers that were delivering wood to them. You got the machinists, the mechanics, and everything else, all the little side business. So for a while there was kind of a real kick in the nuts for my hometown. So it wasn't so much of a big surprise when one of the other paper mills shut down years later. They'd been on and off over the years. This is just what happens. We also got a lot of lumber mills, you know, and whenever a natural disaster happens, like a tornado, a fire, or a hurricane, they hire on an extra shift every time. And then once the need's been satiated, well, a lot of guys get laid off again. So it's kind of roller coaster, roller coaster of work. I can tell you that this is part of the reason you'll see employers that get kind of abusive at times, because you're absolutely fucking disposable. And if I'd known that how bad things were, because I grew up in it, I didn't really think about it, it's just the way things were, I would have left that town at 18. And I'm not saying I didn't have some good friends and a lot of good times. I did. There's a lot of good people there. But the reality is that I'd been better off if I'd been a trucker and younger. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, well, trucking's going to fail one day, or they're going to automate it. I fully agree with you. I have no illusions that it'll be there forever. One day, the Autobots and the Decepticons will be driving the freight. And knowing this, I know that you should save your money. You should live as cheap as possible. Because let me go over why a lot of those people were hurt as bad as they are. And every time I watch one of these documentaries where they show some auto factory or some other factory, they explain why it's so bad. The same things I've said many times before. I'll say them again. Mama got to have her SUV brand new. Daddy got his pickup truck or a sports car. A Harley, your jet skis or your boats. Big old RV. Mind you, most of these people never have their houses paid off before they start living it up. A lot of them are living it up before they even have the decent job. And so they're like, oh man, we're really relying off that job staying around here. If you had just had the most important thing paid off before you had children, I know that sounds impossible. Let's go over some strategies of how to do that. If you just had that paid off, would it matter if the factory closed down? Would you rather have an old vehicle and your house back? Because I've seen a lot of people lose their houses. In fact, here's a pro tip. You want to get a cheap vehicle, wait till a boom bust cycle happens somewhere, and there's going to be a lot of nice vehicles at auction. A lot of good equipment too. I've seen this happen with the oil industry, oil and gas. That's normal for them. Which you would think at some point it's got to be in the blood. It's got to be something in the brain and the blood, maybe a little something. I don't know how to explain it, but like, okay, so this boom and bust has happened in your family dozens of times, and now again you're just like you lost everything again for the 3rd time. Yeah, but we had fun in Vegas. Swear to God. I think we should build in places where people are working, cities and whatnot. There should be the situation where you can get, the bachelorette house and the bachelor house where you have pods, basically a small little place where you can rent, have like a gym, shower and work out at, maybe a little leisure area, like a man camp for one of those mines that's way out in the middle of nowhere. Got somewhere where you can live cheap, affordably. And then you make that money, you save that money. And like I've said with trucking, you make that money and you basically invest when you're young. I'm not giving investment advice, but there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Compound interest can kick ass for you, or it can kick you in the ass. Most of the people I saw lost everything. They let it kick them in the ass. And you would think, looking back at people that saw other factories shut down, or maybe people who survived the Depression, all these different historical times, there's like, yeah, this might not be around forever. Like maybe we should do like a soldier to Detroit. When I drove truck, I get loads to Detroit occasionally. And by the way, it was just as broken and ghetto as you could ever imagine. There's some nice parts of Detroit, but you drive through and you see a really nice house and it's half burned down because after the people left or whatever, the crackheads just move in there and then they end up catching the place on fire. I remember Gary, Indiana. I drove, there's this big traffic jam. So I went and took one of the side roads and there was like a church, big church, the fire inside of it and all that, bunch of houses that either weren't there, half burned down, a few of them still were there. And you're just like, this is what happens. All the eggs in one basket. Now people say, well, if the factory shuts down, that's just the way it is. Not if you own your house, dippy. If you own your house and it's outright owned, guess what? When the factory shuts down, sure, it sucks. But I'm pretty sure you'll figure out a way. Especially if you got some money saved up and you got your retirement already figured out. I mean, and ladies, by the way, ladies, I know you don't care where the money comes from. I know you don't. Like whether it's credit or whether it's this, but for God's sakes, if you see a guy out there and at 30 or 40, 35 or whatever, he's already got everything figured out. Maybe marry him instead of the dude bro. He's got a nicer car. He's got look at the clothes. Look at the name brand. We went to the lake last weekend. He doesn't own any of this crap. I mean, they'll give broke people with no money a brand new vehicle at 70% interest. And for those that think, oh, I'm insulated because I'm a tech worker. Remember the dot-com bubble, followed up by the housing bubble. And then now we got the AI bubble. Or I got a government job, I'm safe. Have you taken a look around? The old Doge thing or something like that? Yeah, they're cutting out the fat. But if you're in one of these places where you're making decent money, work, save money, and pay cash for things. Go to some little farm town where you could pay cash for a house and you're out of the game. You could be a better parent. You could have all the time. You could maybe take up a job you actually like doing. Maybe work an online job from home, and because you don't have to worry about a mortgage or all the usual crap and the overpriced house. Go to one of these small towns and get an Asmongold special. Yeah. If all you know who Asmongold is, you buy an old house and you fill it full of love and a family. And basically at that point, you might be working a job, even though you're already set up, but you're doing something you like doing because you don't really need the big money. And the most benevolent thing about this whole situation would be every time one of you people retires younger, that makes room for the next person that comes up and gets the job. And they're like, well, I can't live without all the stuff. Okay, then you'll be part of that boom and bust cycle and you'll lose it and someone like me will come up and buy it on the cheap. Just saying. And try not to be mad about it. I've met guys around town here where people have lost their house to foreclosure and then they're all pissed off at the people that bought them. Come on, man. That's on you. But yeah, when you make that room for that next worker, instead of it being anywhere from 40 to 50 years to be at the retirement, every 10 years someone could hop in the seat. And the thing that's going to happen eventually is you're going to realize as more robots and technology gets better, it's going to happen. We're going to have less need for people to be working, doing these jobs. So we're on a slowly decreasing, constantly shrinking situation. And there's going to be more people fighting for it. So the better you have your game together, the better off you are. Just saying. You don't have to be boom and bust anymore. Save your money, pay cash for things. Don't buy where the property's overpriced, and retire younger. Make way for the next generation. By the way, do you really want to go to work anyways? Just saying. Anyways, this is Freedom Phil. Like, subscribe, and always remember, turn the video speed up. Later.